You that the views expressed in today's show do not reflect the views of KZLX, KNWT, or Northwest Missouri State University. Thanks for tuning in and enjoy the show.
Going on, everybody. This is the weekend sports kickoff here on KZLX and also on streaming live on Facebook on KNWT. I know it's kind of weird hearing my voice first as I had taken the realms as the host for the week. Not for the week, for today, but I'm Kramer Sanson along with Jacob Blair, Justin Quick, Andrew Botwinick, and yeah, so guys, how's it going?
I'm awake now after that intro.
I did not think it was going to be that loud, but that's what happened. So, some Bearcat athletics we can go over first for today. So, the Bearcats played Lindenwood last week, and as we saw, it was a 38-17 win for the Bearcats. And it just seems like the Bearcats are all rolling. I know, Justin, you were there to do what you need to do in order to do stuff for Missourian. So what was your intake on the game, and were you surprised about the almost, it's not a close score, but they won by 21. But the way that Lindenwood has been playing throughout the season so far, this was probably a shocker for the Lions.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that we think of 21 as a close score, but it got closer in the second half. They were up 24-7 going into halftime, and they were able to actually come out and, unlike the past couple weeks, be able to continue that momentum in the third quarter. They put up 14 points in the third quarter. They also got some help from turnovers, which they haven't had much of this season. They were able to get 14 points off turnovers. Coming into the game, they only had 10 off turnovers, the Bearcats had. But Lindenwood was able to do a little bit in the second half as well. They got 10 points there in the third quarter to kind of even out that scoring. And then fourth quarter, neither team was able to really get anything going, and Coach Wright talked about that. He said he was happy seeing that third quarter progression, but again, he still wants that complete game. He still feels like they haven't played their best game of the season, and he just straight up wasn't happy with how the defense played for most of it, coming into a more spread offense after the past couple of weeks with option teams.
It seems like ever since the loss to UCO, the defense is, of course, they always have that good run defense, and it's like, right now, they're starting to get more interceptions than usual, and it's I don't know if that was a trigger for them, but it seems like now that they're almost firing on all cylinders, all defensive wise, and with this offense still now scoring in the first quarter a lot. I know that was one of their big issues at the beginning of the season a little bit, was to start off strong early. Lindenwood's defense wasn't that great to come into the game at first, but still they put up 10 in the first quarter and then 14 in the second. It's just, it was a good win for Northwest, don't get me wrong, but I'm glad everything is firing on all cylinders for them.
And I think a lot of that on the defensive secondary side has to do with the changes they made, the moves they made, putting Lane back at safety and having him and Richards back there, the two veteran guys back there, and being able to put like Shama Pierce and those guys, big physical 6'1" corners outside to kind of press the receivers is what Wright wanted to do, and be physical with them. And then Nally's come in and played the nickel cornerback position. He's filled in great. He's had 3 interceptions the past couple of games, so he's something to look out for. And that little bit of progression so far after that UCO game, where they did come out very slow and took them till the fourth quarter to get anything going. Like you said, Kramer, they've just been rolling early on, and it's been kind of a flip. During the UCO game, they had to wait till late to get it going, and ever since then, they've kind of come out strong and then had trouble getting it going late again. So we'll see if they're able to do that against the Riverhawks of Northeastern State. Then they're 0-8 right now, but we'll see what kind of game it is when they get down there tomorrow.
All right, you mentioned the Riverhawks, so let's just get on to it. I know we want to talk about this for a little bit. So, Northwest plays tomorrow. I think the kickoff is at 2 o'clock, and they go down to Tahlequah, Oklahoma against Northeastern State, the Riverhawks. They lost last week on their final drive of the game against Missouri Southern. It's almost as if Northeastern State is, they're 0-8, so we can expect what could possibly happen tomorrow. But what are some positives that you think might happen for the game tomorrow?
I think we're going to have an opportunity to see a full game from the Bearcats. They're going to have the opportunity to have a little bit easier opponent to get that full game put together and see what they need to do in order to get a complete full 4 quarters that Coach Wright wants. I think they're going to be able to run the ball very easily against the Riverhawks. They're giving up almost 300 yards a game to opponents on the ground. So I think that's something they're really going to take advantage of early and often with Strayhorn, with Raymond Thomas, and Josh Caldwell all as well as, Braden Wright can obviously move. But I think it's going to be something where they go in and kind of want to put them away early, so maybe they can get some guys in there later on and get some more experience for later on down the road like they always do.
And that point, Justin, you've got Northeastern State. They're not very good this year at all. So when you look at the schedule for Northwest, you've got 2 tough games to finish the season after this one. So when you look at this game, I think it's important to you don't ever want to overlook an opponent, but go in there, put them away early, and then start working on some schemes that you don't want to look ahead games, but maybe look ahead to that Fort Hays State game. Look what you want to do in that game, and then try to put Northeastern State away early, and then work on those things that you want to get ready to go against Fort Hays.
And also for that Fort Hays game, it also is senior day here on campus, and it's you don't want to play your seniors too much because, the inevitable can happen, and we don't want nobody to get hurt during this game against Northeastern State because say they get out to an early 30-0 lead. I wonder if Coach Wright will actually put some new faces in and just rest your seniors for that game or for even your starters. You don't want nobody to get hurt in that game as well. It's just anything can happen, though.
I think adding on to what Jacob was saying, I think that they will try and start to fit for new schemes for the next week against Fort Hays later in this game. I think that if they wrap it up early in the first half even, that second half is going to be more based off of what they're going to be looking forward to be doing against Fort Hays.
Definitely. You still can't overlook them, too. And also for Northeastern State, if you want to put this in comparison, the game that they lost to was Missouri Southern. We saw earlier on in September that Northwest did beat Missouri Southern 63-0. So if you want to put that in the perspective of what could possibly happen for tomorrow's game, it may look bad. It may actually look like a decent game at some points.
It looks bad on paper, but that's why you go, that's why there's the cliche, you got to go and play the football game. So Northwest, you still got to show up. It's a long way down there, so you're going to get some of those legs with the long travel, but it's still, when you look at this game on paper, it should be over probably midway through the second quarter.
And go ahead.
That travel that you mentioned is something Coach Wright kind of talked about at Pizza Ranch at the media luncheon Tuesday, and he said it's actually going to be a lot different than the first time they went to Central Oklahoma. Obviously, the start times are different, but he said the travel schedule is basically the exact same as Lindenwood. They're planning to leave the exact. They've actually already left. They're down there already. They left at the exact same time that they did for Lindenwood. Everything, every prep, everything is going to be about the exact same time. The only difference is kickoff's going to be an hour later. So, that travel shouldn't be too much of an effect coming off the way they were able to travel and have success against Lindenwood. So I don't see that having much of an effect. I just want to say, talking about the Missouri Southern game that Northeastern had, I don't know how Missouri Southern was able to win that game.
Because you mentioned they had over 500 passing yards.
Well, yeah, Northeastern racked up 508 yards total.
Okay, total.
Yeah, they had 284 passing yards, 224 rushing yards, and Southern only had 325 total yards. They had, more time of possession. Missouri Southern turned the ball over 4 times, and somehow Northeastern still managed to lose that game. So it just kind of tells you where that team is at, the state of that team right now, and how they're just finding ways to lose games even when maybe they probably should have won that game against Southern.
And Coach Wright also said one of the key points for the Riverhawks is that they are able to throw the ball. That's one of their strong points. They don't really have a very great offensive line, and that could be something that can be exploited in the game tomorrow. Because of course, the pass rush for Northwest is exceptionally good. I think they're ranked second in the MIAA in sacks.
I think so.
And it's going to be a nice defensive game for the Bearcats, but you still can't sleep on Northeastern State and with their passing game because there is that time that Northwest does get a little bit lazy, and they end up giving up a big play to one of the wide receivers for any team. It always seems like it happens every week.
And if you're Northeastern, you haven't won a football game this year. You're looking at this Northwest team going, really no one thinks we have a shot in this game. They're going to throw everything they have at the Bearcats, and probably after you're talking about last week's loss, they're just going to throw everything at this game and possibly say, you know what, this is the best team in the MIAA right now. Let's go end the Bearcat season, basically, and that's the mindset you kind of think Northeastern is going to have.
They're going to have that mindset of the Giants later Slayer for sure and come in and try to, maybe not even pull up the upset, but just get some momentum moving into their game that they have next week against Central Oklahoma, which will be obviously a rival game with them being both in Oklahoma, and they'll have that one at home as well. So it could be something that Northwest is going to have to watch and make sure that they don't let them get out early and get a couple shots off early so that they can kind of just kill the momentum from the get-go and be able to kind of cruise through this game.
And if you want to look at it too, what the standings-wise in the MIAA, Northwest is first, of course, 7-1, 7-1 also in the conferences, and then you got Northeastern State in 12th. For Northeastern State, they just need to show up and at least play a decent ball game. For a win for them, I know I've said this with the high school stuff, is get a touchdown. That could be a win for them. That's something. Do some small goals when you're going up against this Northwest team. Anything can happen, though. Who knows? Maybe Northwest, it's an off day tomorrow, which I'm hoping it's not. And I know Coach Wright does not want that to happen either, but it's still anything can happen in the MIAA because, this is a very tough conference.
And like you were saying, that Northeastern State team, for them to keep it even close, I think would still be a win for them for their mindsets. Because this team's averaging 11 and just about under 12 points a game, and they're giving up 47 a game. For them to just even hang in there like Lindenwood did last week for a little bit of that game, I think that's going to be big for them coming into that next game against Central Oklahoma.
Definitely. And it could you're not wrong. Anything can happen in the MIAA. I know that we talked before this that Sean Bain did something achievement-wise.
Oh, yeah, a little bit of an achievement.
We should talk about it a little bit.
We should probably mention him. He eclipsed the 5,000 all-purpose yard marker for his career against Lindenwood. I think he's up to like 5,048 or something like that, somewhere around there. But he had a good game against Lindenwood. Nobody really, was explosive against Lindenwood. You had, receivers. Sean Bain led him with 5 catches for 77 yards. Then you had Marcus Andrews for 3 catches, Tatum 2, Gus Gomez 1, Raymond Thomas 1. So nobody really popped off the stat wise, but in the return game was really where they got a lot of their production from receivers and stuff like that. I know Bain had a couple of good returns, and then they were kicking away from him for a good portion of that game, and LaTroy Harper was able to get a good return off, and Marcus Andrews was able to get a good return off. So Bain was having an effect on the game, even though he wasn't making a lot of plays on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, right now on the season for Sean, he has 567 yards on 30 catches, and he also has 4 touchdowns. But you also mentioned that wide receiving core with Alec Tatum coming in, honestly bringing himself into as a possible threat for this Northwest team. And right now, Braden's throwing it to everybody, and it's like anybody can. Honestly, like 2 weeks ago, it was. I'm having a brain fart right now. That's great. That's great.
Massey?
Massey. Yeah, I should have known that. He went to Lafayette. Same here. It just seems like anybody right now can step up in the wide receiving core, and Braden's throwing it to anybody. And it's not just like, Sean is getting the whole of all the catches. He is getting the majority of them, but still there's all these other players like Andrew Marquise last week had 3 receptions, 46 yards, and with a touchdown. It's anybody can step up for the Bearcats, and that's what's great. Because even when they want to put in like that second string line of guys for this game against Northeastern State, they can at least produce because they have those minutes already. They have those catches, and honestly, if it gets out of hand, I feel like we'll see Kowalski behind taking the snaps at some point in the game tomorrow.
And going back on that, Sean Bain, he's 6 receptions shy of being the 6th Bearcat with 200 career receptions, and he's sitting at 5th in receiving yards for the school and 5th in career touchdowns as well, is what I just saw scrolling through Twitter earlier today.
So he is on pace to put stupid amount of numbers this year, pretty much. And who knows, he might get the ball 10 times tomorrow. He might get the ball 3 times, and anything can happen.
Yeah, it's one of those, they go game by game. Whoever has the hot hand, they're going to ride. And you look at even in the rushing game, you got Strayhorn, Braden Wright, and Josh Caldwell all with about 80 carries each. And then Thomas has got about 25, and Brody's got about 20. So they're really spreading the ball out. They're not focusing on one person, which I think helps them a lot in terms of opposing teams having to game plan for not just one person. They have to game plan for an entire offense where they can't just shut down Sean Bain and be fine. Then you got Tatum, you've got Massey, even Jamie Taylor and the Troy Harper guys we hardly ever mentioned, but they've made huge plays so far this season.
And I honestly, it just seems like it could be the playbook that they have this year. I don't know, because I don't know how many times you switch a playbook off seasons by season, so you can not like have your opponents to like, oh, this is what you're going to do the entire time. But it seems like since week 1 against Missouri Western, they had at least 7 different players have a reception, and it just seems like it went from there to where at least 5 people get a catch, 6 people get a catch, 7. I think it was during Missouri Southern that maybe it was 11 people who got a catch, even including Braden. And it's there's a lot going on with this offense right now. That's the reason why they're 7-1. And I know they have a goose egg against Central Oklahoma, but it's just a really good offense right now.
It is. And we can't overshadow the defense as well. Their defense, even though it hasn't been, up to standards of previous years, they still got one of the top defenses in the nation. They're, I think, second right now in points per game with about 11 or 12 given up. And right now they're giving up a little bit more yards than we're used to them seeing. They're giving up, almost 300 yards total. They're still that rushing defense, like you mentioned, Kramer, is still very strong and very solid. They're giving up around 80 yards on the ground there, but their passing defense is something that we've seen them struggle with a couple times this year. And if they get into a habit of giving up big plays, when it comes around to Fort Hays and even, Central Missouri, we've seen them, they've put up huge numbers through this season through the air. So it could be something to watch the last couple weeks, see how they handle those big plays whenever they come their way, whether they're able to shut those big plays down against Fort Hays and Central Missouri, or if they're going to give those up and see if they can find other ways to be successful on the defensive side.
No, definitely. As once again, the Northwest will take on Northeastern State tomorrow. Kickoff is at 2:00. So anything else you guys want to add about the football team? All right, we'll take a quick break and we'll do some more Northwest Missouri State University athletics, because there's still more stuff going on here on campus rather than football. So we'll be right back here on the Weekend Sports Kickoff. Kickoff, I'm Kramer Santo along with Jacob Blair, Justin Quick, and Andrew Botwinick. So I didn't bust your guys' ears out on that one.
No,
when
that
we
was
came
much
back
better.
on. Yeah, you're welcome. So some other Northwest Bearcat athletics going on. We have volleyball, which is going to be played tonight at 6:00. Yes, 6:00. And me and Jacob will be on for KZLX on the call. But there's a lot going on with volleyball these next 2 days, as tomorrow is senior day. But first, we're trying to pull it up on who they're playing tonight, if you remember.
Missouri Southern.
Missouri Southern, alrighty. It's not
I mean,
on
we're
my...
calling the game
Yeah,
tonight,
no,
so you probably should know
I honestly prepped for the game for tomorrow more, but yeah. So there's senior days tomorrow, but for tonight we'll preview Missouri Southern a little bit, as right now Northwest comes in at a 19-6 overall. Coach Worth this season is very happy of how the girls have been playing, and with them playing Missouri Southern tonight, can honestly give them some more padding in the conference.
Yeah, Missouri Southern so far only won 3 games this season. They sit 3-21. So all things similar to the Northwest football game. Tonight should be a pretty easy game for this Northwest volleyball team. It helps them. Really right now they're in a battle with Central Missouri for that 4th overall seed in the MIAA tournament coming to that. They've already clinched their spot. So Northwest, it's right now it looks like there's 3 teams at the top of the MIAA, and then there's a 4th and 5th, and then everyone else is behind them. But we've seen Northwest Missouri, they've been able to challenge the teams at the top of the MIAA, and so they're in a good position. Get the win tonight. You head tomorrow for senior night. Finish out the season strong with just 4 games left.
Yeah, and also Northwest is 11-3 in the MIAA. AA play, they are currently 2 games back of Washburn for the MIAA lead, and currently in the position right now they are set to host UCM in the first round of the MIAA tournament as a 4 seed taking on the 5 seed, so that could be a very good matchup when it does have in time.
In Northwest, like we said, this team is a team that you look at like there's 3 teams up at the top of the MIAA volleyball-wise. Northwest is that 4th team. The one loss for Washburn this year is to Northwest, and that was in Topeka. So this Northwest team has got the ability to run the table in the MIAA tournament. They're going to be in a good position right there on that 4th seed. If they can hang on to it, they've got a shot to move up, just 1 game back from 2nd and 3rd. So Northwest volleyball in a good position right now.
Yeah, they're in a great position. If we want to look at the NCAA Central Regional rankings, they are sit 10th in the rankings, so they're not too far back. As in first place is Concordia St. Paul at 19-3 and 21-4 with their overall record. There's a handful of games for the remaining schedule for Northwest, as it Missouri Southern for tonight, Southwest Baptist for tomorrow. Then on November 2nd, they are at Fort Hays, and then on the 3rd, which is a very good day, and a lot of good sports going on the 3rd, against Nebraska Kearney. And right now, they're sitting in a really good way to finish out a great season. And so tomorrow against Southwest Baptist is senior day, so they're going to honor Maddie Bruder, Sophia Schleppenbach, Olivia Nowakowski, and Megan Stillmock. As with those 4 seniors coming in, they have a career record of 73-34. So these 4 girls are able to help Northwest win a lot of games. And honestly, I think they have 42 MIAA career wins with these 4 on the court. It's just it's sad to see them 4 go, because I mean they were pretty much the heart and soul of the team right now.
And in a conference that is known for, you know, being very strong in volleyball, as it is in a lot of other sports, you look around you mentioned the regional rankings, but for the top 25, you've got Kearney, Washburn, Central Missouri, and Central Oklahoma all in the top 20 even. And so it's a very strong conference, and for those senior group to be able to put up 42 wins in the conference in their 4 years, I think it's a very strong task to be able to do, and I think it's something that they should be very proud of as they look back upon, after this year's over, as they look back upon their career at Northwest.
So once again, the Northwest women's volleyball team is taking on Missouri Southern tonight at 6 at the Bearcat Arena, and tomorrow at 3 o'clock at Bearcat Arena as well against Southwest Baptist. For tonight on the call is myself and Jacob Blair, and tomorrow is myself and Andrew Botwinick on the call. So you're going to hear my voice a lot these next few days. I'm sorry for you folks, but yeah, it's going to be a fun old time. So that's with volleyball. Switching things over now to the soccer team, as they come in taking on Missouri Western here tonight at 6, as they take also on Sunday Lindenwood and St. Charles. So 2 road games for the soccer team. They come in at tonight's record with 2-13. They got their second win on the season against Southwest Baptist back on the 14th. And I know it's a rebuilding year for the soccer team, and there are some positives coming for them. They just need to, maybe this is the year that they're like, hey, we just need to recruit, get more people in, and then once the next season hits, they're going to come out on fire. As they already had senior day, which was against Northeastern State. That was played on last Sunday. So anything you guys like to add about the soccer team as potentially getting their progression more forward into more of next season?
I think the recruiting aspect is something that you hit on, Kramer, and I think it's a very big aspect of this year. There's a girl that we talked to, Andrew Wegley, the assistant sports editor for the Missourian, talked to this week for his story, Taneeth Beal. She's a defender, freshman for the Bearcats, and she really talked about the reason she came here. She was playing club soccer at K-State, and the reason she came here is because Mark Gordon came, and she's someone who's been really, aggressive in the defensive area for the Bearcats this season, and those kind of things where people come here and they see Mark Gordon, the success he's had at his previous stops. I think it's going to be something that's going to bring in more talent here for Northwest, and they're going to be able to build something off of that. I know this year, obviously, the win total isn't what everyone wanted to see. Gordon talked about they kind of set a high bar when they came out and beat Jewel the very first week, and then they weren't able to, reach that bar the rest of the season, but they did pick up a win against Southwest Baptist, and I think if they can pick up another win here at the end of the year, it's really going to show the growth that they've had so far this season.
And as you mentioned, the freshman, as she did come in just because of Coach Gordon, there's only 7 seniors on the team right now, but there's 11 freshmen, so this is a very relatively young team, and there's about 6 or 7 juniors and a handful of sophomores. Looks like there's also maybe 8 sophomores on the team, 8 or 9, just by eyeballing it right now. Not the total numbers for the juniors and sophomores, but this is a very young team and a very uplifting team to see in the near future.
And Gordon hit on that. He's kind of been moving people around, trying to find the best place for everyone to play. He came in. He didn't know the players that were already here. He didn't know how they played. He said he watched some tape, but he was really trying to figure out how they fit into his system and the way he wants to play. He said he wants to be a little bit more aggressive than, they have been in past years with Hosa, where they've been a little bit more relaxed and a little, more defensive than being on the aggressive side. So we'll see how long it takes for him to kind of get his system set up, get the players he wants in, get the right system set with those players, and see if he's able to turn this, the program around that's really hasn't had a whole lot of success since it's been started at Northwest, and see if he's able to kind of build a successful program like a lot of the other sports here have.
Alrighty, so Northwest is taking on Missouri Western tonight at 6 in St. Joseph, and then on Sunday traveling to St. Charles against Lindenwood at 11 a.m. on Sunday. Anything else? I'm pretty sure that's all going on in the Northwest as of this week. I know there's more stuff coming next week, but anything else you guys like that?
I think I'm good.
I was going to say with the soccer, a lot of the games that they lost were within a goal or two, and I think if you give that another year or two with a new coach, that like what you guys were hinting on, like that recruiting and like getting the players that Gordon wants to have there, I think that's going to help a lot, and that they're going to be either tying a lot of these games or winning a lot of these games just because they're only a goal or two behind already.
Well, and one thing to Andrew's point as well is they've only scored, I think, 9 goals total this season, so they've struggled to put the ball in the net. But the big thing for them is they've played really good soccer for 60 minutes of the 90 total. They put together good portions of games. They just aren't putting together the full games. I know that was one thing Gordon said at the beginning of the season, was that he was looking for complete games from his team, and that's just something I don't think he's gotten this season, where as they get older, they'll put together those complete games. And I was at the game against Emporia State, and that game it was very competitive. It was very good for about 60 minutes in, and then Emporia State just went on a tear for about 10 minutes to get that up to 3-0 in that game. But the team, they put together good performances, just weren't able to play full 90-minute games.
And on that point, Jacob, I think that's something that's going to come with experience for a lot of these girls. You mentioned, Kramer, how young the team is and how few they will be losing the next couple of years. And having that experience of knowing how to pace yourself over that full 90 minutes instead of going out there and burning all your energy that first 60 minutes is going to be something that's going to be huge for them moving forward.
Yeah, I'm just going to throw aside. I played high school soccer, so it's like it's rough. It's really rough. It's a fun sport, but it's not fun to run the entire time. So I just want to throw that out there. I mean, I know it's completely different from high school towards college, but still. So we'll take a quick break here, and I feel like we're going to have to talk on some college football after this, and a lot of stuff has happened for team-wise, including myself. Went 4-1 last week. Don't want to brag a little bit, but yeah, we'll be right back. Thank you, Justin, for joining us for the Northwest stuff. Is there anything besides traveling to Northeastern State? What are you going to be watching this week?
I'm going to be watching my Longhorns take on Oklahoma State whenever I get the chance. If I'm still at the game, I'm sure I'll be getting updates on my watch. But if I'm, away from the game, I'm going to be watching that all night. So.
All right. Well, have a safe trip for tomorrow.
Appreciate it.
We'll be right back here on the Weekend Sports Kickoff. Welcome back to the Weekend Sports Kickoff. I'm Kramer Sansone along with Jacob Blair, Austin McNorton, and Andrew Botwinick here for this nice, lovely Friday to kick off your weekend with some sports action. As we've already talked about Northwest Bearcat sports, athletics, we talked about some college football, some NFL. First, before I say this, we're also on KZLX right now, and we're also streaming live on Facebook on the KNWT channel. But we're going to go switch things over to the Major League World Series, where there's only two teams left in October right now. Is the Los Angeles Dodgers taking on Boston, which they play tonight. First pitch is 8 o'clock Central Time. And right now, the Boston Red Sox are up 2-1 in the series right now. I know beforehand. Let's just get this out of the way. Who's been watching the World Series? I have.
I have.
Okay.
Yes, I have.
Jacob, you said it once, so let's just say it again.
Watched about 2 innings worth.
And which game was that?
Game 2.
Okay. Andrew?
I've been keeping up with it. I haven't been watching it, but
Yeah.
I've been looking at stats as the innings go.
Oh, that's good. Right now, as Boston is in control, I said before, I feel like this game's going to go 6 games. But
Yeah.
right now, it can honestly go 5. I feel like they are not going back to Boston and playing. It's just my opinion-wise. They're just playing way too good. David Price right now actually stepping up and doing what he's supposed to be doing, what they're paying him to do.
Yeah, exactly.
But every single pitch he's getting paid $9,000. So you need to make sure you're
13% of the payroll, I think, for Boston's entire team is for David Price.
David Price, and he hasn't done well until Game 5 of the Astros series in the
by far
ALCS.
his best postseason, I think.
So right now, the key points to Boston winning this game tonight is making sure you get on base because it's Walker Buehler versus Rick Porcello tonight, and Walker Buehler has been notoriously well in the final half of the season. Right now, he has a 4.10 ERA, like through 16 2/3 innings, and he has enough strikeouts. He has 22 strikeouts more than Rick Porcello, but Rick Porcello has only played in 4 games this postseason with only 6 strikeouts and actually 10 innings, and he actually only has started 2 of those games. So his stats are kind of skewed for this. But Rick Porcello has been close to winning 20 games in a season. I think he's had a 23-game season 2 years ago, unless I'm thinking of somebody else.
No, yeah, that's right.
And Rick Porcello is a guy that can honestly get you 5 solid innings, and then you can turn it over to that bullpen right now, which has been lights out for Boston with Nathan Eovaldi, Joe Kelly, and then in the 9th inning, shutting down anybody right now. He's been locked in since the start of the World Series is Craig Kimbrell. What are your guys' thoughts right now on the World Series?
Well, I think we've seen Boston. They've been the best team all season long. And it really, to me, I had them before the World Season. I had them in 5. I think the American League was just so much more talented than the NL this year. I really like what the Brewers did in the NL, but overall, you've been expecting this matchup, Boston and the Dodgers. And to me, Boston's always been the better team. I think one huge stat to know so far in this World Series is how well Boston, I know they were at home these first 2 games, but how well they did in tight pressure situations. So let me explain. So 2-out production has been definitely the biggest storyline so far. So all 4 of Boston's runs in Game 2 came with 2 outs. And as have 9 of their total 12 runs in these first 2 games. 9 of those runs have come with 2 outs. And this has been something that the Red Sox have been excelling on all postseason long, scoring 53% of their playoff runs with 2 runners down. And the Dodgers, this is the other storyline of it, are just 2 for 20 in the same scenario. That's by far the biggest difference maker. And I know the Red Sox were at home, so that helps. But for them to be able to effectively do that consistently, I mean, that's what won them Game 2.
Exactly.
4 runs with 2 outs left.
I don't know if it's because of I'm not going to say this. I am going to say this, but I don't think it's because of the left-handed pitchers. Right now, lefties can hit lefties, righties can hit righties. So who cares? Put Cody Bellinger in if you're the Dodgers. Put Jock Peterson in if you're the Dodgers, because these were the 2 guys that helped you win the first series in the NL Divisional Series and the National League Championship Series. Cody Bellinger had 2 clutch hits in order to give them 2 wins.
Yeah.
And he's only played, I think he had 3 at-bats so far this series, and he came off pinch hitting for both nights. It doesn't make sense why David Roberts is actually doing this, because, I mean, the entire season he had Cody Bellinger in when there was a left-handed pitcher.
So why in the most important series would you sit him?
And he's probably their hottest bat right now. Speaking of hot bats, J.D. Martinez.
I was going to say,
J.D. Martinez
yeah.
batting at 429, I believe, off the top of my head. He's had RBIs in both Game 1 and Game 2. Both of them have been RBIs to help them win the game, too, especially in Game 2 with the 2-out bloop single over into right field that scored plated 2 after a 2-out rally. Because what else? A 2-out rally. And he also had one of the clutch hits that scored 2 in Game 1 as well. Then Eduardo Nunez put the icing on the cake with a 3-run home run. I don't know if this is like a chess game that you would say, because that's what everybody's been saying. Oh, this is maybe throw
between
it
the 2 managers.
Exactly, between Cora and Dave Roberts. It's like, who's going to play their best player? Who's going to put that bullpen person at the right time? Because right now, if you're Dave Roberts, you don't know who you're going to put from that bullpen. Even with Kenley Jansen, I mean, he's came in on relief when doesn't need to be needed. If you're a closer, you do not need to come in unless it's to close out the game, because that's what your focus is if you're a closer. And with Ryan Matson right now, who's Ryan Matson now? He's nothing. He's pretty much a liability now for the Dodgers when they went and traded for him in this season. It doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I want to go back to what you said about J.D. Martinez. So he's attempting to, and this is really historic what he's doing. So he's attempting to become just the 6th player to lead the majors in regular season RBIs and postseason RBIs. And this joins some extremely elite company, such as Lou Gehrig and Hank Aaron and Jose Canseco, to lead in RBIs in the regular season and postseason. This guy's a monster. So if you're the Dodgers manager, you have to put in bats that can match up against him. Go bat per bat, and I think Cody Bellinger is the answer.
And JD Martinez has been DHing this entire season, and now he's going to be a right fielder, which he was called up in Houston. Funny thing to be, he was in Houston beforehand of all this. He going to be in right field. There's a possible chance that Mookie Betts might be at second base, moving from center field to second, so Jackie Bradley Jr. can play center field, or I'm trying to think who else they had out and right. Besides Mookie Betts is usually their usual right fielder.
Jeez, and he's been great too all season.
It's like the entire outfield is crowded right now for the Dodgers, but you need to have JD Martinez. I kind of, how you mentioned calling out Trevor. I want to call out Ryan a little bit when Ryan thought that this signing for Boston was ridiculous. JD Martinez has already peaked. He's going to be on the downward slump. JD Martinez almost won the Triple Crown this year. He's doing amazing in the postseason. He's worth every single penny right now that the Boston's gave them. David Price, on the other hand, not so much. One thing I like to point out was before the postseason started, before the games that I've actually played in the first week of September, well, not the first week, the last week of September, we had some picks. Jacob, you had a very good bracket. If I'd like to add, you didn't miss a game.
Yeah, this postseason has gone about exactly the way I thought it was going to go, which is kind of the most ironic thing of it all. I'm upfront and honest with it. Baseball is not where my expertise is. It's where the other hosts are, and everyone else got it wrong, and I kind of played the numbers, and we're sitting pretty right now.
Yeah, did you have Boston beating LA?
I did.
So what I thought at the start of the season, I thought it was going to be the Milwaukee Brewers taking on the Oakland Athletics, and that isn't what happened.
The A's, really? Why the A's?
Because that bullpen philosophy thing of starting a bullpen pitcher made sense to me, because you don't want to waste a starter to Boston. And, I mean, you've kind of seen what Luis Severino did in the Yankees series and what he did against Oakland as well. What were you guys' picks beforehand?
Before
the postseason started.
Oh, I had this exactly. I had Dodgers, Red Sox.
Nice.
Yeah.
Andrew?
I had Red Sox and Brewers.
Red Sox and Brewers. I really wish the Brewers were the team.
Oh, me too.
Because I would have. I mean, I'm a Cardinals fan. I would have rooted for the Brewers because bringing that title back to the Central. Boston right now, it's too good to be true for them, having the best regular season record and now having the best record inside the World Series right now. And honestly, going 2-0 on the Dodgers is what's helping them, and what's, I feel like it seriously could be a sweep. And
so that's what I was going to ask you. If LA loses tonight, do you think it will be a sweep?
Yes, it's going to be a sweep. Okay. Right now, it's just the bats. Yasiel Puig hasn't done much.
History's in the favor of, of Boston. So home teams that win their first 2 games and then win Game 3 go on to win 81% of the World Series.
It'd be nice for Boston to take it back to Boston and win it in front of their home crowd, but if you're already up 2 games, win the next 2 games, be done, and have to focus on the offseason stuff, partying, relaxing, anything that you do after you win a World Series. Right now, the way that it's set up, Dodgers are struggling. I don't think Manny Machado is going to perform well. I mean, he's gotten a hit in both games, but he's been going 1 for 3, 1 for 4. He had a sac fly in game 2 that got one of the RBIs for the Dodgers. But Manny Machado hasn't performed well. Brian Dozier hasn't performed well since he was even acquired by the Dodgers. Max Muncy hasn't done anything in this postseason except for the first series against who did they play the first series? Against the Atlanta Braves. And they easily beat the Braves 3-1. They had trouble with the Milwaukee Brewers making it go to Game 7. And right now it seems like it's on cruise control with the Boston Red Sox being in first place in baseball and also in the World Series.
It's funny that you say that, because the Dodgers have been struggling because ESPN still has them as the favorite for this game.
I've seen that.
And in games that they're favored, they're 70 and 93. Meanwhile, in games that Boston's the underdog, they're 24 and 11. So what it looks like by the numbers is that even though the Dodgers are favored, there's a lot of games where they don't win, and they're favored to win.
What tonight too with Walker Buehler struggling in the postseason. I even said this. I said Walker Buehler is going to have at least 4 shutout games because Walker Buehler. I feel like is that good regular season. Now we've seen him in the postseason. He's like Clayton Kershaw in the postseason before this season happened. Now what the Dodgers should have done for tonight, well not tonight, for tomorrow, is throw Kershaw. Not long, though, so you get Kershaw in Game 4.
Throw him tonight?
No, throw him tomorrow.
Oh.
Throw him tomorrow and then throw him on Game 7. And that's the only reason why. That's the only way you're going to try to at least make a comeback. Kind of like what Madison Bumgarner did against the Royals in 2014. It's a chess game right now for baseball. As I mentioned earlier, Dave Roberts hasn't particularly doing well in this, and you need to be firing on all cylinders if you are the Dodgers in order to beat the Red Sox, because the Red Sox, if they go up, they're going to win. Like even if they score first or they don't score first, they're going to find a way to make sure they come back and win. Even as right now, it's been the 2-out situation. Game 2, Dodgers were up 2-0. They came back and they ended up winning that 2-6, I believe it was the final score. Not 100% sure on that, but I have Boston. I say 6. So hopefully,
you still say 6?
I still say 6, but I'm leaning towards 5 now, the way that this series has been going.
Yeah. Here's a question that I have. Do you think that this is one of the greatest Boston teams that we've ever seen? I mean, winning 108 games, and if they are able to end up sweeping, I mean, they've been pretty dominant in the entire postseason.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really, not one series has really been in question. I mean, even going against the defending champs against Houston, they looked like they were in control that entire series. So is this one of the best Boston teams that we've ever seen?
My lifetime, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they're 16-2 or 17-2 in the World Series games right now, dating back to 2004 against the Cardinals, as they only lost 2 games then. They swept the Rockies, they swept the Cardinals in 2013, and now they are probably going to sweep the Dodgers. And I mean, the Dodgers haven't won a World Series since 1988 or 89. It's one of those 2 years. It's been 30 years, so it's 1988. Okay. So Dodgers got some breathing room to need to do in order to get there. I know they always try to trade for that deadline deal in order to get themselves into the postseason and into the World Series. They did that last year. They did it again this year, but it's on the receiving side of them losing it again this year. And usually when teams make it back to the postseason that second time, they usually win. And
that's what we saw with the Royals back in 2015.
And I don't think it's going to happen this year. I really don't. That's
losing 2 in a row.
Exactly. So how many games do you think this is going to go, Jacob?
I'll give it 5. I think the Dodgers might grab 1, but
if it's a one game, would it be tonight or tomorrow night?
It would have to be tonight. If they lose tonight, I'm with you guys. It'll be a clean sweep, and it just Boston. Even not following baseball as closely as you guys do, just watching what Boston's done this season, it was hard to pick against them at any point, just because they've been that good. They've won that many games, and when you're that good and you've got things working for you, it's hard for the Dodgers. It's hard to come in there to beat them. And with what you guys have said, one question I've had is if you're the Dodgers, did you come into this series knowing you're the underdog, knowing that you've got to try to do something to go up against Boston? Did you outthink the Dodgers manager outthink himself trying to do something to compete with the Red Sox?
See, I feel like that when the Dodgers came in onto this, they felt like they were the top team. And the only reason why is because that club, that entire group of guys with Yasiel Puig leading the charge for him and Manny Machado with how arrogant and cocky both of those two players are. I feel like they were the top team. And with Boston, they're like, it's just another day. Just another day. We're coming into work.
That's where the problem could be for the Dodgers. If they rolled in with that mindset going up against the best team in baseball, have fun losing a lot of baseball games.
So you said 5 games.
I say 5. I expect, again, if Dodgers don't win tonight, then we know a team has never come back down from 3-0 to win, ever. So the Dodgers, this is literally a must-win game for them. I expect a big game out of Manny Machado tonight. He's really been a beast so far in October. He has 12 RBIs already in the month of October. So he's just got to try to compete with JD Martinez somehow. And I think that home crowd will help LA tonight, but overall in the series, I don't expect it to go past 5.
And last week, I had a friend that texted me and asked me the same question, and I told him that the Red Sox were going to win it in 5, and the game that the Dodgers would win would be a game that Clayton Kershaw would pitch. And if they do pitch him to like the next game, like you were saying, I think that there's a possibility that the Red Sox will kind of take their foot off the gas pedal for one game and just kind of try and see if they could coast it. And I think that that's when the Dodgers could potentially win a game. And in that game 5, I think the Red Sox are just going to blow them out, and they'll realize that they kind of could have had it in a sweep.
See, Kershaw has surprised me a little bit more this postseason because he's actually the Clayton Kershaw from regular season moving into postseason. I don't know if it's because
Which we never see.
Exactly. And it's like, I don't know if it's because since he was hurt most of the season, like that all that time of having more time off. Because, I mean, once you play like 200 innings, when you hit that 200 innings mark, there's always that thing, he might just have a few more innings left in the tank. I mean, you rest 4 days out of the week. I mean, you go back on the 5th day. Honestly, that shouldn't take too much toll of your body, but it does. One thing about Manny Machado right now I want to mention is there's an article right now on ESPN saying the Red Sox are worried when Machado is on base because of the signs. He's picking up the signs really easily, and right now that's been a huge thing for the Red Sox as apparently Craig Kimbrell during the Astros series was tipping his pitches somehow. He was moving his when he gets he does like this weird arm flailing thing before he goes sets, and when he comes up, the way he was coming up was going differently. I noticed it a little bit too, but I didn't think it was anything about tipping pitches.
Yeah, I didn't really think about it.
And then once that thing came out, the funny thing is Eric Gagne, he still works for the Dodgers organization. He mentioned something to Boston saying, hey, Kimbrell's tipping his pitches. And Eric Gagne, if you don't know who he is, he used to be a Dodgers closer. If you see a picture of him, he has glasses. He's one of the closers that had glasses on throughout the 2000 to 2008 season for the Dodgers. Honestly, a very stellar Dodgers closer as well to add. It's odd to see he helping the Red Sox in order to get those tipped pitches away, but now with Machado honestly stealing signs, you can easily change the signs during a mid-game, but right now, the way that it is, Boston's up 2 games, so whatever the sign he stole didn't work. And it's like, say, he has going to be a fastball down the middle. You got to hit the fastball first. You can't just be like, thanks for telling me there's the pitch. I'm going to swing my hardest. You can, the way that it gets, it's all a mental thing for batters, and sometimes they don't think they're swinging right down the middle. Right, sometimes they're uppercutting, and sometimes they're chopping at it. There's sometimes you're just not getting to it. And with that bullpen right now for the Boston Red Sox, their average speed is 96.4 miles per hour coming out. That is up from the regular fastball average from the bullpen at the beginning, throughout the season. I think it was at 92 miles per hour from that Boston bullpen. So right now they're throwing gas in their order to help Boston so far get 2-0 in the series. So anything else you guys like to add about the Red Sox on this, except for how Game 1 was a disappointment between Chris Sale and Clayton Kershaw from both sides? That should have been a fun game to watch, and they both went 4 innings.
Yeah.
I feel like Kershaw had the edge. He had 7 strikeouts.
I was really looking forward to that. It was anticlimactic.
The last time that's happened was the All-Star game, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure. And you don't even try in the All-Star game. Now you don't because it doesn't mean anything. So that's what we'll do it here for our World Series talk. So Boston Red Sox, all of us are picking them to take the crown, the World Series titles.